Alright guys, this is Coderjeet and today I'm going to talk about string interpolation in C#. Handling strings is one of the most fundamental tasks in any programming language, C# too. And if you're coding, you expect it to be totally adept at handling strings and making them work because all the data that you display is going to be in strings. Now we're going to talk about string interpolation. If you don't know what that is yet, it's how you can easily combine your variables, the data from your variables, in the strings that you show to the customer. It can be on the screen, maybe as a part of your web form if you're using ASP.NET, or if you're using technologies like MAUI or WPF, your strings can be shown on the display on your form. I'm going to show you an example very soon, but in this video we're going to go through string interpolation very comprehensively. That means we'll talk about interpolation of regular strings, we're going to talk about interpolation of verbatim strings, and I will talk about verbatim strings too very briefly, and we'll also talk about interpolation in raw or multi-line strings, plus we'll also cover basic string formatting in string interpolation. So let's go now. Alright, so today I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. I actually think Visual Studio Code has matured quite a lot in the last few months, actually a couple of years. And now it's got great AI features. So if you have Visual Studio Code and you also have a subscription to GitHub, you can get some really good AI features. To run this project, all we need to do is go to the Run and Debug screen and then click on Run over here. It's compiling. You can see the message, the output is hello world. So that's exactly what we asked for, console.writeIn hello world. So let's proceed from here. So first thing, for string interpolation, the first thing we need is of course a string. So I'm gonna just declare a string text is equal to hi. We are going to talk about interpolation in C#. Now instead of completing the string, I'm gonna put a blank over here. Now all we need to do over here, I'm going to replace, hold on, so this is the AI working. I think it's pretty spot on, but I don't want to use it right now. I just want to print the text. So if you do that now, run it again, and there you have it. Hi, we are going to talk about blank in C#. Now the point of string interpolation is you should be able to replace the content of this string with some variables. Let's say you are taking some input from the customer, or you are pulling some data from the database. You need to show it to the customer or to the user on the screen, and if you do it the older way, you would need to do something like this. Like let's say we have a string const, or let's not worry about a const, let's just call it topic is equal to interpolation. That's the topic we're gonna talk about, and we want to put, instead of this blank, we want to show topic. So the conventional method, old style method, was to do this, plus topic plus. So you are doing something that is called string concatenation. You're putting strings together. But now you don't need to concatenate string, you can interpolate them. So to do that, here's what you need to do. You need to put in topic in curly braces, right? And it suggested to me to use the dollar sign. So if you put the dollar sign in the beginning of the string, boom, what happens is now the compiler knows that you want to interpolate this string which comes next, and instead of just displaying the word topic in braces, in curly braces, it's gonna replace the value from here, put it over here, and then show that. Let's see it in practice. Here we go. And you see this? We are going to talk about interpolation, which is the value of a variable. So when you pull data from a database, or you want to show something that was input by a user or by another user, you can just use interpolation and not have to use concatenation, which is a bit more harder to use, honestly. Ever since interpolation came out, I've always preferred using interpolation because it makes things easier to read and to edit. Now, this is not the end of the topic. Of course, this is about, most of the time you'll be using it exactly this way. And of course, you can have multiple strings in here. Let's choose another one. Okay, lang is equal to C#. I think that works. Good suggestion there, AI. In lang. So you know what happened here? Now it's putting in two words, two variables into this string, and if you run it now, you will get two variables. But that's not what we want. We'll run it again in a moment. But let's go a little bit more beyond that. Now let's also talk about verbatim strings. Do you know what are verbatim strings? Verbatim strings are the strings that have a set spacing and that have all the special characters as a part of the string. So you tell the compiler, I don't want you to interpret the special character in special ways. I'll show you. String verbatim, boom, boom, here we go. And let's just put the same thing, but let's say we want, for some reason, a new line in here. So when we use the regular strings and we use new lines, we can just put this slash character and put the n, and there will be a new line right over here, right? And if you wanted to put in two slash, you want to actually have slash character in there, you would have to put two slashes. So in C#, and if you want to, that's actually a backslash, by the way. So there are other things also that are a part of this special character thing, but most of the time you'll be worrying about the backslash. So you can produce a single backslash by just putting it two times. But if you want to, for some reason, you have a lot of backslashes and you have a lot of special characters that are not interpreted in a regular string, you want to use a verbatim string, all you need to do is put an @ symbol, and now what happens is no special character is interpreted. By the way, I just wanted to point out, it's not just the backslash. Another important character that you might need to deal with a lot with is the double quotes, right? So if you using double quotes, you will need to qualify them. You will need to tell the compiler to not interpret it as a end of the string. So that for that you will need to put in again the backslash. Right, so that can turn into a lot of backslashes. So verbatim string kind of solves that. It doesn't solve the double quotes problem, of course, because you're using double quotes to end the string over here, but all the other characters are resolved by this. So now this is a verbatim string, and if you wanted to again do the interpolation, you will see that you will need to, I mean, it's pretty intuitive. So you put the topic and lang over here the same way, right? Now the only difference is in front of the string, instead of just $, you will have $. So now this string is also interpolated. Let's try this one again, verbatim, and now let's run it. Here we go. Okay, you can see in the screen here, hi, we are going to talk about interpolation in C#. Hi, we are going to talk about interpolation in C#. So this was how verbatim strings are dealt. Now there is a third category of strings, which I like to call multi-line, but many people call them raw strings too. So here is how it works. Let's say you had, for some reason, a complete paragraph. So you could do things like text3. This is a long text. I'm going to type more than just a line, but they will all be about interpolation in programming, the programming. Okay, so I've written a long string and you can see it's hard to read, right? So you typically want to break it into multi-line. Now I actually use a system where I just press an enter key. Okay, in Visual Studio, what it does is it automatically gives it an end string and a plus sign. So it will automatically concatenate in Visual Studio. So I actually like to do this because it puts the string together. It's not a big deal. And you can break a multi-line string into multiple lines and still have one variable by using string concatenation. But you can actually have a multi-line string as a native part of C#. You don't need to concatenate it. All you need to do is now have three double quotes for the string. So you begin it with the 3 double quote and you end it with the 3 double quotes. right? Here we go. And to make it truly multi-line, the only thing you need to do is just put the double quotes in its own line. So now this is a multi-line string, and you can put in all the text that you want in here, and it's not gonna, you're not gonna need to concatenate it. It's just gonna make it a raw multi-line string. It's a raw string, which means that any character that you put in, so this is now a new line, right? So don't just, it's not just a concatenation, it's also new line. So there is actually a new line in here. The text will be shown on the screen with the new line. Let's just test that one time before we try to put in interpolation here. Now interpolation is quite intuitive, so let's go ahead actually and do this. So again, the same thing. Put in the topic, and if you want to put in the lang variable too, let's do that, and just put in the $, and you can see they're coming together. Now let's run it. F5, you can also press the F5 key. This time I pressed the F5 key. So see this is a long text. I'm going to type more, and you can see this is also interpolated. Now interpolation also has some advanced features. Let's say you want to put in some more information like a date. So you could do this. Date time today equals to date time now, all right? And you wanted to show this inside of the data. So here is what you could do. I'm using, for example, let's just modify this one, the regular one. We are talking today, talking on today. So now what's going to happen is, okay, let's test this first. What's going to happen is you'll see the date, but the formatting is going to be done by toString, and it might not look very pretty. So you can see this is not looking very pretty, right? You want to make it better. So you could do this, put in a colon, and then you can specify the format like this. So now, actually I like MMM better. Why? Let's check this out. Of course, we don't need these quotes here. And this one too. All right, I think this looks quite okay. So let's run it now. F5. You can see now it says 27 APR 2025, which is the format I gave it. So this is great, because now you can format the variables, format the data according to the way you want, without having to do .toString and then specify the format. It just makes things a little bit easier, which is great. Also, you can do a little bit of alignment. So if I wanted to do something like this, like I can put in a comma. Now we are not putting in a colon this time, we are putting in a comma. This is for alignment. It will take the number of characters we have and align it according to the characters. So we'll run again. F5. You see here there is a space, and it's aligned at the end of this, space C#. And if I wanted to align, to give space after the interpolated text, I could just do the reverse, which is put in a minus. And now let's see this. And now you've got space after the interpolated text. So this is what alignment does, and you can combine both too. So now instead of using the alignment on lang, I'm going to put it on today like this, and then run it, F5, and check this out. We are talking on 27 April. So you can't see the space after this because this is minus, obviously, and there is nothing, no text after the paragraph, after the date. Okay, let's just put this right in the beginning and test it. I think it will be easier. Let's check this out. Here we go. Okay, I think space should. Alright, so it's not working for some reason. We need to figure out what happened. Is it the space or is it something else? It's not the space. Okay, I'm just going to put the alignment this time and see if it changes. Alright, I realized what happened. It does 10 characters and I think we are very close to 10. So we'll just move it to 30 now and see this. The length of the text is quite close to 10. I think that's what happened. Yep. So you can see now the space is coming in. And if you use -30, the space should be behind or after the text, interpolated text. Alright, so this is how formatting works. So now we know all about interpolation. We know about how it works on a regular string. We know about how it works on a raw or multi-line string. And we also know how it works on verbatim string. We learned about the formatting part. We learned about the spacing part, the alignment part. And all of these things you can use to display your text correctly on the screen, whether you are on web or you are making an app, WPF app, or Windows Form app, old style Windows Form app. Basically, it works in all of C#, even in the console app. So on that note, I will take your leave and I will see you later with another video on programming.